John's blocked on my Twitter. I blocked him. He is legit. I blocked him a long time. He's been a piece of shit to me from day one, and people like the guy. I was nothing but nice and respectful to him. And I know Alex Riley just came out and did.
Yeah, that just came out today.
When people hear what really happened with that, they're gonna lose their shit. Like, and I know I have a pretty good idea what happened with that and the guys in WWE, and it's fucking hilarious, and it's hilarious because what people will find out about John and whatever, but it's just he's done. So he used to shit talk me when I was in the ring. I remember working against Mark Henry. You got to remember, like, I came up with all these guys in developmental, so like I know everyone that's sitting backstage.
Who would shit talk, Alex or John?
No, John. No,
okay.
John. I used to be back there for John when Riley was in the ring, when they were fucking with him because John was hot at him because of what happened with all this. And it's not my place to discuss that.
No, let him take that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But John would sit back there and bury Riley in front of everybody for no reason. And Alex Riley is fucking money. He was money from day one.
It's mind-blowing. You got a guy with the right look, the right attitude. You know, I know he wasn't...
Bust his ass. You had awesome theme music. Worked his ass off, went out there and got a reaction from the people.
Yep.
And because of John Cena and people, I swear to fucking God, because of John Cena, his career is over in the WWE for no fucking reason outside of because of John and his personal issues.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
And you said it too. I think this goes hand in hand because the dirt sheets picked this up, you know, about a conversation that you had with Hunter, basically saying that they don't plan on having any marquee names. And I think a lot of that comes from, like, not that I'm a big fan of the way, I really like SmackDown. I think it's a really great show. Raw, I really legit can't watch anymore. But the fact that there really is no full-time superstars or marquee names, and they got to rely on these, quote, part-time guys to come back and fill the void and give them all the top spots on pay-per-views and major shows. But do you think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Cena just had so much fucking control and power that it ultimately, like, affected business for so long?
Yeah, he's been poison to the wrestling industry, and I told you this. We've talked about this before, and again, this is my opinion, but you know what? I think I'm pretty accurate on this. I think he did so much harm for so long to new talent to breaking out up there, and I have my experiences, and other talents up there have their experiences, that I think Hunter had to finally say, what the fuck do I need to do? And I think he just started, you know, with the NXT thing and bringing up these NXT guys and protecting the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
And there's so many guys now. John can't just fucking pick his battle with one guy because there's 9 other guys hot on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's been surpassed now. And if that is what Hunter is brilliant, if that's what he did to do that to fucking get rid of the Cena problem, because I've always said this, and I talked about when I did these interviews overseas on the night with the evening with Ryback, and I talk about why, like, the people, John, I'm a big believer that you should go with who the hot ticket is.
Yeah.
That whoever the crowd is behind and they are showing the most interest in, you run with them. And your top guys constantly are kind of changing, and you can still protect those guys when they're not in that main slot still and keep them relevant until they fucking change up and start getting hot again, maybe doing something a little different. But everything gets stale over time. And I was talking to the crowd, and they stood up to a round of applause when I said, the reason why you guys boo Roman Reigns is because you're booing Vince and his ideas and what he believes in now, because he's out of touch. And the place stood up and erupted into a roar of applause.
Really?
But it's so simple.
It's true, yeah.
And but John, it comes from that, well, we got to just push one guy down your fucking throats. No, you push who the crowd is behind.
Yeah.
Like, and you look back, and I use this as example because I lived it, when 2012, when the undefeated streak with Ryback and going into the thing with Punk, hot on my heels with that, Daniel Bryan was picking up steam with the Yes stuff during all of this too, while I was in my main event run. Now, just imagine we keep me babyface my main event run all the way to me and Cena at WrestleMania. I take the title off him. I'm bigger than ever now. And then you have fucking Daniel Bryan, who's hot on my heels, if not as hot, if not hotter. And then we eventually go to a baby where we let, pass it on to Dan. Like, there's some, but they don't do that.
No,
and
no way.
That's why people boo them. And they don't give a shit, because whether he makes $300 million a year or $150 million a year, he'd rather make $150 million a year and say, fuck you guys, I can do what I want. This is my company.
Yep.
And that's why I left, because I respect that. That's your company. I'll go create my own world and my own empire and my own company, and I'll call the shots, and I'll be a little more realistic about it. So,
and I'm willing to believe that you're not the only person that thinks this way. I'm willing to believe that multiple, if not the entire, it just makes the entire roster thinks this, and it makes total sense.
And that's why I left. I always said it takes, and I didn't obviously leave in the top position, but I left with some good standing, with some good equity in my name. And I always said, it is going to take somebody, standing up and just saying the way shit is, and that's what, that's the best compliment I can get for this podcast, when people say, we appreciate you just telling your truth, speaking the truth. And I this is 100% from my perspective and what I believe. And I'm telling you, I've lived it. I've been there. I've been figured in for a long time, and things need to change. And it's just interesting to hear all the things going on up there and whatnot. But I totally made the right decision, and I'm so happy being away from that. But somebody needs to speak up for all the guys, because the guys there don't have that luxury. So.
Who I do not like, but he is very articulate, and he has a good, he's a good role model and representative of the company.
Why do you hate Cena? What was there?
What I don't like about Cena is, number one, the couple times that I have met him, he was a dick. Number two, I just get sick of them always shoving down our throat. And I had a big discussion with Gregory Sugarshame, good friend of mine, Helms, on this. He disagrees with me. Is like, he just made his 300th Make-A-Wish, and he just was, breast cancer for. There's a lot of guys, and I'll start with Rey Mysterio, who does the Make-A-Wish shit.
Yeah,
a lot of people.
But it's Cena's gimmick now. It's like they act like Cena's the only one.
Right, he's the only one, and then when they have the shit for the support our troops, he's always the guy that's going out there representing the troops. Motherfucker, you were never even in the military,
Yeah, no, yeah. So, he has that gimmick of the Marine thing.
It's just too much, It's just too much scene. It's just now, motherfucker's been out, I don't know, 3 months or some shit. Dude,
not even. It's 2 months, if that.
Go tag the fuck out of Bella every night. Freak the bitch. And have fun and live life, drive your fucking cars. No, I gotta run back, in record time. And now we get all these little fucking Cena things of when he was a little kid and how he grew up. Give me a fucking break.
There had to have been 12 of them between Raw and SmackDown this week, and it's all right, by the 6th time we know he's coming back.
It's he just debuted, he needs a push or something, really.
Right. It's ridiculous, because this is what I always think, and I have this problem in my promotion. It's this guy's been your top star for 8 years or whatever, 10 years. I mean, he has carried the company. I'll give him his props. He's done, bro. He's done. You can't make him any bigger than he is. I mean, that's can you make Peyton Manning any bigger than he is?
No.
Where do you guys live? What city are you guys in?
I'm Atlanta.
I'm in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. I'm originally from New York, though.
Yeah. All right, so being in Atlanta is, somebody. Let me think of somebody from Atlanta. In Atlanta, I'm sure Chipper Jones and John Smoltz and fucking now Matt Ryan. They're huge stars. You don't need to. You already did your job. Now make somebody else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. And they don't bother, and nobody else is on Cena's level.
Make somebody else, man.
He's the only big draw that they have.
Make him bigger. Make CM Punk as big as you made Cena. Now you have, instead of one mega superstar, you got 2 mega superstars, and now you can make a 3rd mega superstar. There's, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't need the belt. He doesn't need always to be pushed. He doesn't always have to be on every. It's I just think I'm just I'll give you an example. It's and I'm sure this has happened to you. Have you ever seen a show or an artist or a singer or a rapper or whatever, that when they first started, you were with them and you were like, oh, this guy's going to be good. And then after a while, you're like, oh, my God, not this.
So many.
You've explained Johnny Landon and Eminem recently.
No, there's so many rappers and stuff like that, musicians in general, that I'm into in the beginning, and then it's just by the end. And I was like that with Cena. When I was a teenager, Cena was my favorite. And then by like 06, it was just like all downhill, and he just completely became lame, and he's had the same gimmick for the past 8 years or whatever.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Let's face it, the only reason he's coming back tonight is because they made the Cena shirt, and they're trying to sell these, Rise Above Cancer shirts, and so they need to have him wearing it on TV so that they could sell more of it. I think that's their logic, because it has no place on the card.
T-shirt sales, I guess.
Yeah.
No, worse would be if he came back and won it. Does he really need it?
I think he will win, because I think they're going to have him break Flair's record at this rate. He's already like a 15-time champion.
Now you got to work with John Cena again now, this time in WWE. What was it like working with John again?
Working with John, I liked working with John because of the energy around when he's in the ring, because he is the top draw, and the thing is, me and John, we don't necessarily we don't get along on a personal standpoint whatsoever.
Why is that?
I don't know what it is. I don't know if he just thought I was a slacker or what it was, or I don't know. I don't really even know where it stemmed from, but he didn't take to me very kindly, so I just kind of returned the favor. Although at the same time, I respect the man in a sense that I feel like he's the right man for the job, because I know the commitment it takes to be in that spot of being like the top guy in the company or the world, the champion. You see the responsibility, being on the road for a certain amount of time, you see the responsibility and how time consuming. The guy got 2 days at home sometimes out of a month. So it's you got to have somebody with a good work ethic, who's got his head on straight, and who's going to be reliable. And Cena's the right guy. He's the right guy for that spot. He is. Although, like I said, just personally, we just didn't get along too well.
Did his personality change? Did he get an ego, or did he stay humble?
I think, Cena did a lot of changing over the years. I don't know if it was a humble thing or anything like that, but when I first met him, he didn't drink. He didn't even drink.
Right.
You know what I mean? So obviously being on the road and stuff like that, and, just through hanging out through some of the various guys like JB and all that, he drank a lot in his personality. He always had a personality. He's, got a lot of charisma, and, he's very, he doesn't really, he's not the type of guy to really let you in on a personal level.
Right.
So I guess maybe that was why it was hard for me and him to necessarily communicate or anything like that, just because it was so, when you're traveling with these people as often as we do, it's I would try to, I try to tap into some of the guys, the personal aspects of the people I'm with, and talk to them about real shit. And Cena's he's a businessman, like Vince. It was professional. You don't know if he has a girlfriend or if he doesn't. He doesn't talk about that kind of stuff.
You had quite a big high-profile match with John Cena in one pay-per-view as well. How was it working with John Cena?
He was all right. I actually liked it. He was cool. His dad told me a story that his very first live wrestling show was a show I did in Lowell, Massachusetts, where I broke my jaw, and that was his first live wrestling show that he's ever took him to. So that was kind of cool.
Wow. That's very cool.
But for John Cena as a wrestler, I like him. A lot of people talk shit about him, but I think they're just jealous, And I think what he does is he does good enough. Obviously, he does it good enough. He's still on top, and he's.
It's funny. Guy. Every single wrestler you hear talk about John Cena who's wrestled with him say he's great and he's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it just there just seems to be this constant disconnect between that and what I suppose fans think as well.
Well, the fans, they like today it's messed up. The hero is now the villain. Now, if you're a good guy, people don't like you, and same with him. Now he's actually a good guy, so the general fan will like him, but the hardcore asshole smart ass is not gonna like him. Because they don't like baby faces anymore.
Yeah, sure.
They're like heels.
Was the first time you were champion, was that from the Money in the Bank match that we had that you won and then went on to cash it in? Was that the first time you were the champion?
The first time, and that I remember the Money in the Bank I didn't want anything to do with.
That's right.
Yeah.
I remember that the first, this was for a WrestleMania, I believe it was 20, and the idea that they had was Jericho versus Edge versus Benoit in a 3-way submission match.
And I don't have have a submission.
Yes, you don't have a submission, and also, how the hell would you do that? Like a 3-way? It just reeked of like, we've got nothing for these guys to do, so why don't we just put them together? And then there was a couple other guys that didn't have anything else to do, and I think it was Gortz and I that came up with the initial idea. And I remember either he told you about it or I did, and you didn't want to do it. You didn't like the idea. I don't want to do another ladder match or whatever it was.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to be in a ladder match. Just don't put me in it. And I remember going as far as saying, don't put me on Mania. I'll get back to it. I'll make sure that I'm on it next year. But if that's what you got, don't put me in it. And I remember like you and Glenn and Kane and Chris and Jay like kind of saying, "Oh, this could be cool." And it really took some. It was one of those instances where I was so far off the mark.
Well, I mean, I remember even, I don't know if I ever actually said it, but thinking to myself, like, shut up, dummy, you're gonna win this thing. Just be quiet, But I mean, like you said, it's funny because I was talking to Steve Austin about this a couple weeks ago. You felt it, I felt it. Sometimes when you get I don't even know what the word is, but you can't see the forest through the trees sometimes. I'm the same. And when you get an idea in your head, it's like, I will be the most stubborn son of a bitch ever. I don't care. Like you said, take me off. I'm done.
And it's from a point of caring, or maybe caring too much in a way, too. It's like you not being able to kind of separate yourself from seeing what could be this opportunity and this amazing thing because it wasn't your idea.
Right.
Or because you didn't think of it, or because, like, I don't get it because it wasn't my idea. I don't even understand this.
I remember you and I at SummerSlam when we had the 7-on-7 with the NXT, with Nexus. It was WWE team versus Team Nexus. And the finish, it was an elimination tag, and the finish boiled down to you and me were in there, but it was Cena against a couple of them, and John wanted to do things a certain way, and we told him, you're wrong. Remember that? And he did it anyways, and it sucked. And then afterwards, he came over to us and said, I should have listened to you, but I wasn't seeing it that way. And sometimes you just don't see it that way,
One of those things, and sometimes you need to kind of bed in order to go, oh.
Yes, exactly.
And that was one of those deals where he was adamant to what he wanted to do, and I remember I was like, fine, I'm out of the match by that point.
Yeah, exactly. He wanted to get DDT'd on the floor by Barrett, then kick out and then beat them both. And you and I were like, that's the dumbest thing. Like, that's just throwing it away for no reason. And anyways,
well, especially when I thought they should have gone over because they were so hot.
I remember we were fighting for Barrett to go over. I agree. And in all fairness, where's Wade Barrett now? They should have listened to us.
Yeah, that was one of those instances where I think we're actually right. And I think there was a lot of those, but that was one especially where I was like, oh, and I really did. I just went, I'm gone by that point. Fine, do what you got to do.
Do you think John Cena, the man, not the gimmick, would have been a success if he was in the Attitude Era? Boy, I'll tell you what, that's a damn good question, because if he was in the Attitude Era, he would have been pushed to the absolute limits. And I always say this, and I'm not blowing smoke up my own ass. People always ask me about one more match, and I'm not selling one. I'm just talking about one. There's nobody who could get something out of Cena more than Stone Cold Steve Austin, because I would push him to the nth degree from a promo standpoint and also in the ring. But John Cena in the ring can go like nobody's business. He's very strong. He has wind for days, and he never blows up. I'm talking about pushing him from a promo character standpoint. So he would have really been tested in the Attitude Era. But he's so good. He's so over now. And he's so talented. And he's driven so much. Yeah, I think John would have been absolutely phenomenal in the Attitude Era. And he would have adjusted or gauged himself accordingly and flown by the seat of his pants and done whatever he needed to do to accomplish the task at hand. And that's, fighting for a spot on the main roster, fighting for a spot on the main event. Yeah, I think he would have thrived, and I think he would have done well. Teddy, you saw the Attitude Era. You watched from your television set. You hear me talk about the physicality that the guy just brings, not from just a wrestling on what he brings to the ring in a match, but what he brings to the business in terms of his durability and his wanting to go, go, go. And when I referenced the pay-per-view, the TLC pay-per-view, then the cage match with Seth Rollins, but he's been doing this for years. So seeing what you've seen out of John, seeing what you saw out of the Attitude Era, do you think he would have succeeded?
I think he would be much more successful than he is today. And he's successful today. But I think being a babyface and being his size, which, I want my wrestlers, big and bulky. That's the way they should be. You take a guy like Cena, good, stout, tough as nails kid, very well put together, very well spoken, clean cut, match him up against, a badass heel, and that would just create so much fire, with the wrestler that can give as good as, as he can take. Man, it's perfect.
It would have been perfect because he would have fit right into. John Cena is certainly a lot better put together than I am, but from a weight standpoint, in our prime, about the same weight. Rock in the same ball game. All the guys from DX, same ballpark. Taker, could work with Taker, could have worked with Kane, could have worked with Mick Foley. I mean, all the dance partners that he's missing now in a war of attrition. There's a lack of top guys, and there's so few of them that they've done it over and over and over again, with Randy Orton and some of those other guys. But he would have had so many dance partners. He would have been in heaven. If you could pluck him out right now, put him in a time capsule, and go back that 15 years and place the John Cena that we're seeing right now, right in the middle of the Attitude Era, that would be fun as fuck.
Oh, because he would have opponents that are on the same level that he's on,
if not higher.
Yeah.
You've got to understand the explosion that was the Attitude Era. But yes, playing in the same park.
Oh yeah, no, dude. I think that era. I
say that with respect to John Cena.
Oh, dude.
Well, you're talking about the hottest era in the history of the business.
I think that era was a lot more entertaining. It was sure more captivating than it is nowadays. But you put Cena, against you in a match where you're needling him and doing all of that on his clean cut stuff, man, it's off the chart.
Yeah.
It's just as good as, you and Rock.
Yeah, it would have been. So, yeah, man, I think it would have thrived. I appreciate the questions.
And, dude, we on Team SmackDown, and that includes Dave Lagana, who's now at TNA, and me, and before I rose up to head writer, and Court, and Dusty, like all of us were very much, and not just the competition between shows, the Team Dave for a lot of logical reasons. Your international audience was a big fucking deal.
Right, and I don't mean it like that. I don't mean to say that like I was bad for the company or anything like that. But I think John, he's just really good. Like if I was going to send, somebody out to a talk show or somebody out to do Good Morning America or somebody to do, an important interview, like John would be the guy. I get that he's very well spoken. He's a very articulate guy. He's good looking. He's educated. He's so all American. It just makes sense. I think I was good for the company. I was definitely, and I definitely played my role. I embraced it, but I wasn't really bent out of shape about that. Well, what it was, I just wanted the same opportunities that other people were. That's it. I didn't want to be feel like I'm a second-class citizen. So that was where all that came from. I always liked John. I always thought he was great for the company. But also, as far as the mic, being on the mic, like John was willing to say stuff that I really wasn't willing to say. Like John is one of those, and this is not. I don't mean this in a negative way. It's not to shit on John, but he's just one of those suck-up, kiss-ass baby faces that I will never fucking be. Like I'm never going to go out and say, with all you people behind me, with your support, I can accomplish anything. I'll never be that fucking guy, because the truth is, and it's written all over me, is whether you support me or not, if I want to do it, I'm going to fucking do it. And the more you don't want me to do it, the more I'm going to want to do it. And that's my personality. It's not one of those people. I'm not going to go out and say all the things that people want to hear. I can't do it. I can't bring myself. I'm not that guy. And John is. John will go out and he'll be Hulk Hogan. He'll say all those things, that people, they want to hear, and they want it gets them fired up, with all of the, it's like the whole Hulkamania thing with all you people behind me. And that's not me. You know what I mean? I hope that makes sense I don't mean that to shit on anyone. It's just that some of those things, those hokey, cheesy things, I just can't bring myself to do because it's just not my personality.
And a lot of times, especially with top guys, Vince would feed them stuff. And goddamn, the worst John Cena promos you've ever heard are not John Cena. They are Vince McMahon, in my opinion, anyway.
That's what I mean, and it just goes back. It's just one of those things. Like he's just willing to say shit that he really just shouldn't say. and it was, you know me, man. It's you're gonna get in an argument, and it's pretty obvious when something doesn't sit well with me, and I usually fuck it all up to hell if it doesn't sit well with me. So it's just I think that's where the lack of faith came from, and just. But, you know, I don't know. It's all in retrospect and kind of, you know, guessing and whatnot. But, yeah, it's definitely when Vince writing a promo for someone is never really been a good thing. And then as far as, there's, you know, it's so weird, and I don't think people will ever get this or appreciate it about me. But when I was wrestling, all I wanted to do was wrestle. I didn't want to be an actor. I didn't want to do anything. I just loved entertaining people. I wanted to be there. I loved wrestling. I didn't want to sell them cheap T-shirts. I didn't want to. I could care less if they, you know, booed me or cheered me, as long as they, you know, I gave them a good match and they were happy with the match. I just wanted them to be entertained. I didn't need the accolades. I don't think people will ever fucking get that. You know, I didn't come out with 25 fucking wristbands and a different T-shirt every fucking week that I'm trying to shove down their goddamn throats. People will never appreciate that. It's just because I really love the business. I love storytelling, and I love, you know, giving the fans, you know, making them feel like, you know, I'm getting my money's worth. This is what I paid to see. This is good shit. I mean, I was happy with that. I was more than content with that. But I really wanted to pursue. It's so funny. I do a lot of things because I get pissed off. And I really hate when people tell me that I can't do stuff. And I had done, when WWE started doing films and commercials, and I noticed that everything more and more was going to Cena. But at the same time, you know, he's main eventing one series of shows, I'm main eventing the others, but he's getting all these opportunities that I'm not getting. Well, that just seemed a little unfair to me. That I'm still out there, you know, busting my ass on these shows while he's making movies, getting paid a buttload of money to make these movies. And so I simply asked the question, is there any opportunity for me to do films? And there wasn't. They had no interest in me doing that. And I said, well, you know, if I'm not afforded the opportunity here, then I should be afforded the opportunity to go outside the company and audition. And the answer was, you're our property. Get your ass on the house shows and get to work. And I just thought it was unfair. So I thought, you know, it's just really unfair. It's unfair to me career-wise, and it's unfair to me financially. We're, you know, basically kind of mirror images of each other on the show, or you know, on our respective shows. But I'm getting afforded a lot less opportunities, and that didn't sit well with me, and I wasn't okay with that. I wasn't content with that. And so when they said no, I wasn't going to be afforded those opportunities, I said, well, I'm going to leave them. And that was kind of it. And I gave them like almost a year's notice, and I gave them, you know, I did whatever they asked me to do, and I busted my ass. And I think up until the day that I left, they still didn't think I was leaving. And on the night that I left, I literally, without, you know, I think a few people said goodbye to me and said thank you, but it was like a very few. And then I walked out, you know, security, Muriel, Sassy, escorted me out the door by myself, you know, see you later, Dave, thanks for everything, we'll, you know, keep in touch. It was sad, man. It was really put things in perspective on where I stood with them. And I left there with a broken back. You know, I don't think a lot of people realize that or appreciate that, but, you know, on my last match with Cena, I broke my back.
You mentioned John Cena. Talk about John Cena. Is he a locker room leader, or is he play politics? Is he one of the boys?
John Cena now is in a bus, so he's not in the locker room. But for the first few years that I was there, he was in the locker room, and he is a locker room leader. He leads by example. He's the first guy there, last guy to leave. He's in his gear. When we go to European tours, he was the guy that took it upon himself. He was the champ at the time, to make sure the boys got together and shared some awesome memories in the pub or the bar, wherever we were. Played cards. He's an animal. He trains like just an animal. Super strong. I love John Cena, but you know what? One thing I like about John Cena more, he's so smart. And when he gets into something, he researches and he reads, and he never drank before. And when he got into drinking, he knew everything about single malt scotch, double malt scotch, beers, yeast processing, fermenting. He got into it.
Right.
And he's a history buff with the war. He knows that he got into bodybuilding. He became very good at that. Look at his physique. He got into pro wrestling. He became one of the best, legendary pro wrestlers in history. Whatever he sinks his teeth into, he becomes really good at it. He becomes obsessed with it. He learned Chinese to expand, the global market. What did he get into for a second there? He got into some other stuff, and he's learned so much about it. Cars. He knows everything about old cars, and he trades cards like cards.
Right.
And he's just so smart, man.
There's a lot of stories that went around that Cena politically cut the legs out of Alex Riley. Any insight to that at all? Or?
Alex Riley would think that. And, it's every man for himself. It's an unspoken understanding. But to sabotage someone's career, that's a different thing. I don't know if he did that.
What was the beef between the two? I've heard a lot of different stories. I've heard weird stories, and I've heard other stories.
I don't know. I think there was times where I guess Cena wanted Riley to embrace the locker room mentality and come have some drinks, and if you don't want to, it's not that you're disrespecting the locker room, the way the system's in place, because there is a hierarchy, there is, seniority, and you have to pay your dues. And I don't know what happened, but at the same time, Alex wasn't wrestling perfect matches. His psychology was a little off sometimes. He looked great, hard worker, but once you get the boo-boo face backstage, it's seen. You can't hide that. So whatever happened, he got his ass chewed out. Sometimes he made a bad match, and maybe he got yelled at, and then it snowballed. I don't know what happened there. I definitely think WWE missed the boat with him. I think he could have been a big star for sure. Why he didn't, I'll never know.
When you first were told that the Shield was going to break up, were you resistant to it?
No, there was no resistance because what we would have been. Because, we just got off a European tour where we were kind of headlining the tour, and, we're starting to see merch kind of start taking off and really starting to hit our stride kind of as, baby faces, and, it's really starting to work, and we're like, oh, man, this is, a big deal. This is going good. Yeah, all right, we're, ready to just, roll in the spoils, right? We're like, yeah, we earned this, And, we've gone in and, the three of us, and protested everything. If we don't like something, it's like we were like terrors to them, because oh god, the Shield's not gonna like this. Oh god, and then 2 seconds later we're in the office. Yeah, we don't like this, kind of thing.
You're talking to the right guy with that, man.
Not that we're jerks, but
but you're standing up for yourself, man.
Yeah, they wanted us to. I think it was our second pay-per-view or third pay-per-view. It was right before our first WrestleMania, and it was a 6-man on a pay-per-view, and the finish was Cena over with the schmutz, and we're like, what? As soon as we go down to John, we're just like everybody else, because that's what he does to everybody else. And there'll be a time where we'll do that all day, and that's fine. But we're
not now.
It's not today. Otherwise, why are we even here? Yeah. And so we were all we went into that pay-per-view that day we're not doing it, more or less. We didn't have to, because there was enough options. There was enough people on our side and stuff, and it was brought up.
Gotcha.
But it was one of those things where we were always on the same side, and one for all for one. If we didn't like something, it'd be nope, not happening, because there's three of us, and it's hard to gang up on all three of us.
Cena's a good mouthpiece, and people dig him. Why? But I guess it's just that we're doing a transitional life stage again, where people are into the gangster rap and all that stuff, because and he's white and does it good. Right. So you have kind of that, Eminem and then John Cena, because he's over. He's over pretty handily, but his work is not good.
Bro, what was funny? I saw this thing that Ron Killings had posted. I was running across this. This was from way back in the day, but it's kind of funny because I don't know if you remember, but Ron Killings and Cena, I would say maybe in 2007,
were kind of going back and forth on social media about, you know, who was a better rapper and all that. I don't know if you remember, any of you two?
I wouldn't watch Detective, so.
All right.
I remember a little bit.
Yeah, so they were kind of going back and forth, you know, like I'm better than you, whatever. And so they had met at an airport. And so there was like a little bit of tension, and it kind of got out on the internet that Ronnie and Cena had met. So I asked Monty, what happened? He goes, nothing, man. Then, you know, we just kept walking, you know? And so everybody would come up to him and they'd be like, hey, Ronnie, what happened at the airport? And he'd be like, nah, nothing, you know, I bumped into Cena. He didn't have anything to say, and that was it. And people would kind of leave like, damn. I go, bro, you got to put some hot sauce on that story. Nobody likes that story, you know? So every time. Right. Never let the truth get in the way of a good story, right? And so, you know, so people would come back and I go, let me handle it. And so they come up and they go, hey, man, what happened? I go, bro, Ronnie went up to Cena and he was like, yo, what's up, bitch? And they were like, well, what happened? He go, nothing, bro. He just walked away. Oh, yeah, Ronnie, that's cool. And I go, you see, bro, that's how you do it. Well, bro, I actually found this the other day and it cracked me up. I guess him and Cena ran into each other again at the airport afterwards. Okay.
Right.
So this is what he wrote. This is awesome. He goes, John Cena didn't approach me, Ron Killings, about shit at the airport. In fact, this is the second run-in that we've had. First one was kind of a calling his bluff type of thing, even trying to communicate with him to see what's up with what I've been hearing. Also, all the interviews he did supposedly calling me out, big mistake. Then he leaves me a voice message on my cell talking about battling me and thrashing my ass. Not to mention people he's done interviews with tell me John Cena wanted us to call you so he could battle you. Man, please, he did what he should have done, and that's nothing. I wish he would try to play that battle rap shit with me. I'll just eat his ass alive and spit and shit out the pieces I don't like. Just like I told him, he's a punk-ass rap wannabe me.
Wow.
How awesome is that?
Wow. That's when was this?
This is like somewhere like in 2007, 2008. I just ran across it and I popped because I knew he did that because I kept, you know what I'm saying? Saying, oh, you got to generate some heat. And boy, did he generate some heat with that.
He took the ball and ran with it.
What are your thoughts on John Cena?
He's a very hardworking guy. He hates me. I don't know why. But
Is he threatened by you think, or?
I don't know.
Did you ever go up to him and say, hey, what's your problem with me, or no?
No, I don't think I ever did.
Is he approachable in that sense, or?
Never really, I guess, until after I was already gone and started kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together. I didn't realize, like, I don't know. I just always sensed that he didn't like me, and I would hear things from other people that he was burying me in the back or saying this about me, saying that about me. I don't know what it was. I don't think I ever did anything to him. The only thing I can think of is that, and somebody showed me something on the internet a long time ago. I was at a like a signing, an autograph signing, or like a press conference or something like that. And I mentioned, I must have said something, and then I said something about Cena. It wasn't negative or anything like that. I just said his name, and the crowd just erupted in boos. Like, you know, the place just went ape shit. Just booed the hell out of him. Cena sucks, Cena sucks, Cena sucks, Cena sucks. And so then I was like running with it. Like I was like, Kennedy, yay, Cena sucks, Cena sucks, Cena sucks. So I kept fucking with him throughout. Like, I was just having fun with the crowd and just, you know, it wasn't like an intentional, like,
right.
You know, I wasn't saying that I thought Cena sucked. It was just whatever. No, I was being a heel.
I hear you. What happened in the match between you guys where I guess he suffered an injury?
He gave me a hip toss, and I somehow tore his pec. I don't know.
Do you think that could have started a little bit of the friction, or?
Definitely. I know, talking to people, that I got the heat for that. Like I definitely got
all the heat for that. Like, you injured the top guy in the company. How that happens from taking a move from somebody, I don't know. But, I mean, all I did was jump and flip. And he got tangled up somehow and ended up, tearing his pec. I don't know how. I'm still trying to figure that one out.
We did an interview recently with Sabu, and I think he got to work with John. And apparently gave John a potato. He had a black eye or something like that. And Vince started yelling in the back, not directly at Sabu, but said something to the effect of, he's $1 million guy. You can't be doing this. John, did you get that feeling from Vince or the office as well that maybe you got heat?
Well, the thing is like I had heard later on from people who definitely are in the know that I did get the heat for that, but nothing was ever directly said to me.
Right.
Like, nothing was ever said like, hey, man, you should really do this. It was just like,
Gotcha.
Hi, Ken. Hi, how you doing? How you doing, man? I mean, whatever. How do you combat something like that?
I guess there's some sort of urban myth or not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You had issues with John Cena. Is that what was the? Because I had about 3 or 4 people say asking about John Cena. So I'm asking about John Cena. Now, is there a story there?
I will put it this way: there was an incident, and it certainly changed the path of my career. I don't want to discuss it right now, but I will one day for sure. I will one day. It was a tough situation at times. I guess we can leave it at that.
So there was a story there. Okay. Well, we'll wait and we'll stay tuned on that deal. So somebody got their answer. So there's that from Kevin Kiley Jr., ladies and gentlemen. Let me ask you another. I got some good stuff here on this. Did you have any kind of relationship or was in the locker room much with CM Punk?
Yeah, no, I was in the locker room with him a lot actually on his rise to superstardom. Yeah.
Are you surprised that he walked away, leaving a lot of big money behind, and seemingly has no interest in returning?
Me and CM Punk were never buddies per se. We certainly, I spent a lot of time with him on the road with him. He was the WWE champion for most of it, for a lot of it, or certainly one of the top players there. If you don't know that when you put yourself in the circle of people that are going to be considered for the WWE championship, that you are going to get your brains beat out, both physically and emotionally, then you're nuts. I don't understand, and I didn't really keep up with much of the details of how things went down, but I know there was maybe some complaints there about maybe a medical thing or something, and but that's the gig, man. I mean, you that's what you signed up for. I don't know what he ended up making or if that is even disclosed, but it was a lot. Now, if somebody's going to pay me over $1 million, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're making that type of money, I think if you're breathing, you're working. That was always, I was begging for somebody to give me an opportunity to work. I mean, begging. Asking people every day, why am I not being used? Why can't I do this? How about I do this? And never really getting, an answer, so only, we're waiting for this or we're waiting for that or it's going to be okay. And so to hear him, kind of push for that opportunity, get it, and then exit in the fashion that he exited, I don't know. I can't sympathize with that because I don't know if I would do that. That being said, I don't know the exact details of what he went through, so who knows?
Things, and then I go to the office like a good little soldier, and then they tell me I can't do it, and then 2 weeks later, John Cena's doing it. The same thing, the same exact thing. Fuck yeah, house show's off, because I tore my knee up working Cena in September at Night of Champions. Put him in the Moodalock, and he tried to roll to get out of it and just twisted my knee. I did every appearance. I did everything Cena did to put it in perspective, because people, know how much John does. I did everything he did. They just don't advertise it. I mean, it sounds shitty to complain. I did as many Make-A-Wishes as he did, and they just don't advertise anybody else doing a Make-A-Wish. Occasionally here and there, you'll be like, oh, Randy Orton did a Make-A-Wish. Mm-hmm. Everybody does them. They just seen as the poster boy. And that's a big problem with that place, is they have no plans going forward for anybody. I think when they call a meeting, Vince will probably like, what's next for Cena? Because that's all he cares about.
You have time for another one real quick?
You lay it on me, man.
Okay, so here's another one. First time, really the first time Raw is going back to Mexico City in a long time.
Yes.
So they add, me and Rey Mysterio had a big feud at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So they add me and Rey from the SmackDown crew, SmackDown wrestlers, to the Raw show. To for the Mexican people.
Right.
So Booker T, being the awesome guy that he is, he pulls Vince McMahon aside and he goes, hey, I think he's not even on the show. He's on SmackDown. This is a Raw show. He goes, I think Chavo and Rey should be the main event. And
wow.
Yep, you're right. You know what? You're right. So for 2 weeks before this, we're the main event. We're the main event. And sure enough, the day before we leave, Johnny Ace calls me and says, hey, okay, man, you guys are the main event, so we really need you to tear it down. I say, no problem. We get to the show, and now we're the match before intermission. And I'm like, okay, what's going on with this? So Art explains it a little bit to me and basically says, hey, guys, it's a Raw show. We can't have, the champion, whoever, I think John Cena was the champion at the time, can't be the...
And this is in Mexico City, basically home of Rey Mysterio and your lineage.
Yeah, my lineage. So we can't have him not be the main event. And I'm like, all right. If you want to call it, okay, whatever. That's cool. So me and Rey, I look at Rey, and I said, that's it, bro. We're stealing it. And he looks at me and goes, yep. So, all right. So we go out there right before the main event, and I'm right before intermission, and that's probably like the fourth match or fifth match.
Yeah.
In the front row is all their stars. Ultimo Dragon, all of them wearing masks and suits. Ultimo Dragon, cool. Hijo de Santo, Phantasmo, Pinche Ghost. All those guys are right there in the front row, man, and they're all watching us. So I come out, I'm the heel. They blew the heck out of me. It was awesome. Rey comes out, and he comes out with the headdress, the Aztec headdress, the whole thing, and I'm like, you son of a bitch. He comes out all the time. They're going crazy for him. Well, it was just one of those nights, bro. And in Mexico City, it's very thin air. It's a mile up. You have no air. So some of you blow up really fast. You get tired really fast. Well, it's just one of those nights, stars all aligned right.
Yeah.
And, God bless us, man. And me and Rey tore it down, bro. We tore it down. We went probably 25 minutes. And this is the first time these people were so alive. It was crazy. So as we get done, we come to the curtain. Everybody's watching. Everybody's clapping. Val Venus, all the fans, all the
everyone backstage, all the boys.
They're going, oh my God, what a match! That was incredible. What a match! Wow, that was so good. Except for John Cena was the main event. He was the main event. He didn't say a word to us.
Yeah.
Because we thought, of course. So when we came through, we were like, me and Rey were like, hey, follow that one, MFers. You know, we actually, follow that. You don't want to put us in the main event? Okay, follow it.
Yeah.
And then, DX was on the show, and they didn't say a word to us.
Typical.
Not one word. Not like, hey, good job. Hey, nothing. No, not one word. Not even, hey, how was it out there? Nothing. Just a total ignore.
Yeah,
I was like, you know what? Stick it up your ass, bro. I don't really care.
In your mind's eye, were your issues with John Cena, in your view, based on the sensitive nature of somebody losing their spot or sharing the spotlight? Was it kind of a creative? Because look, Cena's made a lot of money, and he's still making a lot of money. And I signed John Cena back in the day.
Oh, he's beyond talent. I'll never knock John for his work ethic or his in-ring, abilities.
But was it just a professional thing, the wrong place, wrong time, right back? Because here's the thing, maybe it's just my naivete, and if it is, you tell me. It just doesn't seem that he is that evil, spirited guy.
And
I've seen it firsthand though. So you got to remember that you're dealing with these top spots and a lot of money. And you go back and you watch that 2012 to 13 run, and there was a lot of money being made on my end, and I was dealing with things where John, I would be out in the ring for a match, and John was sitting around my peers, the guys that I went through developmental with, that I've known for years, and who directly come back and talk to me. John's just doing nothing but talking shit about you the entire match. And then I would see John doing it to a guy like Alex Riley when I was sitting by John, watching the monitor when he had his beef with Alex Riley, just shit talking him to no end, like he was the worst human being in the world. And I've seen him on that end. And then I've seen it, like another issue was merchandising, where I talked about it was him and me, him number one and me number two for many months up there. And he had about twice the amount of things that I had. Well, I was never allowed to see the merch reports. Only John had access to that. And why he was allowed access to it and nobody else, you can answer that for yourself. But there was one merch guy who's no longer there anymore who used to pull the sheets for me to show me my numbers. And he goes, "You're right on his tails with everything." And I go, "Well, why aren't we making more merchandise for me when my numbers are this strong?" And where they can't make enough merchandise for guys when they're running hot and whatnot. And they were just like, "Well, we can't get this, we can't do that." I was having to try to come up with stuff and then being denied. And so, like, I saw things on that end, just as far as that. And, like, when he was in with those merch guys, like nobody else's business. And, like, I was there in the inner workings of everything, and I saw it and lived it firsthand. And I'm not going to say that I'll never question anything in the ring, and I actually enjoyed wrestling, John. And we never had, even when things weren't perfect with us and we've gotten in verbal altercations, it never affected us going out to that ring and performing and doing business together, not once. And I like to think that's a testament to both of us as professionals on that. But I'm just speaking solely from my perspective of what I went through, and I think it is an issue of those, when it comes to that amount of money and in those top elite spots, I think he's very sensitive to that, and I saw it firsthand.
You know, Ric Flair is a legend. But as far as talking about gimmicks, this is the real thing over here. I think these WWE guys think they are not right in the head, some of them. I mean, the new age are dweebs. Let's be honest here, they're absolute dweebs. But the old school guys are legends, you know what I mean? Ric Flair was a legend. The McMahons, of course. Dons. But I just said it as it is. The dweebs. I mean, what's the main guy, John Cena? He's wanting around. He's 40. Yeah, he's 40 years of age. He's wanting around in a luminous orange T-shirt and a headband, talking about nobody can see him. We can see him right there. He's a big fat 40-year-old failed Mr. Olympian motherfucker. Do you know what I mean? That dweebs, those guys. But I don't know what to say to Ric Flair. This ain't no gimmick. This is the real shit. I've got to get in and fight a man for real, with no script, with no nothing. So he was talking about challenging, bringing some other wrestler guys over to challenge me. I saying, come bring it then. This is the real shit over here. If you want to come over, we can fight, no problem. And then a few of them are talking about the street and all. If they want to do that, come at me and see what happens. But like I said, no disrespect to the Dons of the game, the McMahons. I mean, Vinnie Mac's a fucking legend. I mean, they wrote Vinnie off a few years ago when he dropped from the billions, and then he rose back up, and now he's back in the billionaire club. And what he's been able to do with that bunch of dweebs he has over there at the moment has been phenomenal, and I respect him for that. And then, of course, the OGs of the game, you know, the Rock, Stone Cold, they're all cool motherfuckers, but even Ric Flair's a cool motherfucker, but like I'm saying, I'm just speaking the truth. That new age of those guys are absolute dweebs, and they just seem messed up in the head. I don't know what it is when I listen to them talk, when I listen to them carry themselves. They just don't seem right in the head. So that might have been a bit ruthless of me to say, but again, it ain't trash talk, it's true talk.
There's been a few wrestlers who, like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, like Chris Cena, who have gone on to film careers. And you sort of call those guys out when you were screaming that they kissed Vince McMahon's ass. Do you feel like you could have gotten one of those careers if you had done that? How much sincerity was behind that speech?
Well, now I know we can say ass on Huffington Post.
Oh, you can say whatever you want.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Really?
Throw it out.
Oh, all right. Did I think I could be a movie star?
Well, no, the question is that you essentially said that they got their fame, that they got so much of their success for kissing Vince McMahon's ass. I'm wondering how much sincerity was behind that comment.
Yeah, I don't know if they got they were successful because they kissed Vince McMahon's ass, but they just kissed his ass. I wasn't really sure exactly why they did it.
You did not kiss Vince McMahon's ass.
No.
What sort of ways in which did they kiss his ass, and which way? How did he expect it to happen?
I don't know. They're just buddies with him. I was just always kind of looked at him like my boss. You know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go out drinking with Vince or go swimming in his pool in Greenwich, Connecticut or anything like that. So that was just a line in a promo, really.
HBK's Lazy Eye follows up with, in a 2010 interview, you claimed Randy Orton managed to persuade John Cena to complain about your in-ring performance to Vince McMahon, which prompted your release. Could you go into detail about how this happened, or perhaps divulge on how you know for sure that Orton persuaded Cena? So, go to Vince.
No, it was just a process of elimination. Cena was hanging out in the locker room, kind of just creeping, and then I was talking to Randy, and then I just got the sense that there were some things that were said during the day too, before I went out for the match, that prompted me that Cena knew more about how the finish was going to go down than, yeah.
Why would Cena go along with that? He's untouchable. He doesn't need to be bothered with that bullshit.
Well, there's a lot of people who you would think are untouchable, right, in the business, who, for some reason, people always ask why does this person hold people down when they're untouchable? But I don't know.
Maybe that's how they stay untouchable.
Maybe.
James DiPaolo, Facebook, was WWE justified in letting you go?
Yeah. You know what? The thing was, everybody can say that it was Randy Orton and John Cena and all that stuff. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. I had come out publicly and said stuff about, I should have never opened my mouth about the Chris Benoit thing. And I think you get in that situation and you think that the world needs to know what Ken Anderson feels about this particular topic. And it's not true. And so I made some missteps. And then shortly thereafter, I got popped for being the 10 that went on ESPN as getting popped for getting steroids from that company or whatever, the wellness clinic. So, there was misstep after misstep after misstep on my part, and then that was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And I think when those guys went to Vince, he was just like, you know what, I'm tired of hearing his name in a negative light. Get rid of him.
Gotcha.
Plus, I had been hurt. A few times, which I didn't hurt myself. Contrary to popular belief, like if somebody fucking hauls off and wails you in the leg with a baseball bat, that does not make you injury prone.
Right.
I'm just saying.
I got you.
Let me ask you a question, because I watched the first 2 seasons, but it just looked so scripted that I was like, man, so I stopped watching it. When you're watching this, KG, does it seem scripted, or it seems like that's really him?
Well, he's always come off a little strange, I feel like, on all these shows. It seems like he's more relatable than real life than how he comes off. But on this Total Bella show, since it's inside his house, I don't know if, that's just the way they want to play his character. But it's a weird way to play your character to me, because it does the opposite of connecting you with the people. He's not a heel, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's like a OCD or whatever,
Right.
Conan.
And
they have once a week, supposedly, they have to have a formal dinner where everybody dresses up. So Brie comes down to the dinner and she doesn't have shoes on.
Because they're not allowed to wear shoes in the house.
Okay, so I guess Cena went ballistic or something like that. So he's disrespecting his house or something like just. And
then Daniel Bryan and them are like, well, we're not allowed to wear shoes. And then they're like, well, you have separate clean shoes that you wear in the house.
That's funny. It is very. I want to watch. When I heard about all this, I want to watch the show now, because I think it sounds really funny.
Right. Yeah. It was weird because I don't know what season Cena popped in on, but I watched that season. Was it KG? Do you remember?
I'm not exactly sure when, but
yeah. And he had to come to San Diego to talk to her, and they talked like on a pier.
Yes.
And then he brought her to her house, and he just felt to me so robotic, like he was like, like he knew he was playing to the cameras, and he just seemed very robotic the last time I saw him.
Well, he's always acted that way on that show. The weirdest moment ever was they did an angle on that show where Dolph Ziggler was supposed to be like throwing himself at Nikki Bella and like, look, John doesn't want to marry you. John doesn't want to have kids. I do. I'll give you everything you want. Just be with me. And he tries to kiss her and stuff, like all stuff that would get him, major heat.
Right.
And on the show,
stuff he wouldn't do in front of a camera because there is a camera there. Yeah.
So he does this, and Nikki goes and sits down with John. This is on Total Divas, a little while back, and she lays it all out to John. And instead of getting mad, John's like, "Look, if you think Dolph Ziggler's a better fit, I'd be a fool to try to stop you from being with him. You basically you have my blessing." What? And who does that? Who wouldn't at least be like, I don't think that's cool that he tried. So wait, he tried to kiss you at Raw while I was in the ring?